Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amy and I am on a financial freedom journey with my family. I share all about that and more on my channel, and some other things that I share are other people's budgets. So welcome to another episode of Budget Reviews with me, Amy. And yeah, I'm not a professional by any means, but I do love to help you guys out and review your budgets. And this is entirely free. If you're interested in a budget review, click the link in my bio and you can get one entirely free and hear my thoughts on your budget. So today we're going over Diana. She is 44 and she lives in Ontario, Canada. So Diana is an office administrator. She's single and she has one adult child, and her annual gross income is $82,000. Now I'm going to reference dollars in this video. Obviously this is likely Canadian dollars, I'm assuming. So just keep that in mind, but I'm just going to reference everything in dollars and you guys can take that as you will throughout the video. But I just wanted to clarify that because this is our first non-US budget review, which is really exciting. Thank you so much, Diana, for submitting that. I was so excited to see someone outside of the US who was seeking some help with their budget. So Diana's short-term financial goals and priorities: she wants to pay off debt and start saving. She does currently have two different debts. She has a personal loan for just over $10,000 and a car loan for just over $30,000. She has no money in savings or investments, which we'll talk about in a little bit when we get through her budget. Her biggest financial struggle is saving money, and her long-term financial goals: she wants to plan for retirement. And at 44, I think that's a great thing to be thinking about. Obviously, everyone wants to retire at some point in time, so planning for that long term is definitely a priority. So let's go ahead and go over first Diana's debt payoff plan. So for Diana, she does have the two different debts that we're going to be talking about. One is the personal loan at $10,000. And secondly, a car loan for $30,000. So for the personal loan, that is the priority I would start with for the snowball method. I do switch back and forth whether I recommend the snowball or avalanche, kind of based on the situation. In this situation, I think the amounts are so different that I would just try to knock the $10,000 one out first. And also it does have 0% interest. I'm not sure if this is a 0% balance transfer, but I'm guessing it's something like that. So we definitely want to make sure we're paying this off by the time that 0% expires, because a lot of times with balance transfers, you could really get burned if you don't pay them off in the allotted time. So just want to keep that in mind. The minimum payment for this loan is $375. Next up is the car loan at $31,500. That has an interest rate of almost 13%, and the minimum payment is $586. This is definitely something that I gave a lot of thought to when I was looking through this budget review. I was a longtime Dave Ramsey listener. If you have known me for a while, you know that. I have definitely strayed away from that quite a bit. But one of the things that he always recommended, or usually recommended if people had a car loan, was to sell their car. And I always kind of disagreed with that. But this is the first scenario where I've actually kind of thought that that would probably be a safe bet to do. I think you should definitely at least consider getting a different car. I think $31,000 is quite a lot, and it is taking up a lot of your budget. I did add these two minimum payments together and it comes to $961, which is 23% of Diana's income. I think that's a pretty big number, especially for someone who's on a slightly lower income as a single individual. And with the no savings and the no investments, I think it's really, really, really important that we change that as soon as possible. So I would strongly suggest selling the car. Now, I know that's easier said than done, especially if you are upside down on the car at all. I don't fully know the situation, but if you can get out of the car, I think it would be a good thing. And like I said, I do not normally recommend that necessarily, but I think in this situation, it's something that you should at least strongly consider. If you could get out of the car, I mean, you could probably buy something a little bit cheaper. I'm not one to recommend $1,000 car or anything like that, but even just a few $1,000s, maybe even up to $10,000, I think you could find something that's reliable and still within your means. And even if you did have to take out a smaller loan, you would at least have a little bit more wiggle room in your budget. So those are my thoughts on the debt. I would prioritize loan number one. I would consider selling the car. If not, I would prioritize paying it off as quickly as possible. But we will talk through that more when we go through her budget next. All right, so here is Diana's budget. For the most part, this is the budget that she gave to me. The purple is items that I kind of added, and I guess I should add purple here too. So things that I added or changed in the budget, which we'll talk through as we go through it. So for her W-2 income, she does take home $4,160. Now, this is not including any retirement savings. So I definitely think my first comment on the budget is that you do need to prioritize some sort of retirement savings at this point. At 44, having nothing saved is concerning to me. I think that you should start, even if you can only do 1%, 2%, 3%, whatever you feel comfortable with. I would keep it at a low number now for the moment while you're paying off the debt and also building an emergency fund. But I would do something, especially if you have a match on the table. I would try to at least get the minimum match if you can, or just try to get as close as you can. And also, this can be a work in progress as well. You can start lower and start to build that up as you get in a better financial situation. So I would definitely recommend doing some sort of pre or post tax retirement savings as soon as possible. Now, jumping down to the fixed expenses, she does have rent at $1,050. Her car payment is $586, as we discussed. Her car insurance is $585. Now, I'm going to star some of these that I think she should look into further. Now, she did say in her budget review, she doesn't have a super great driving record, and also her car is a sports car. So it is pricier. And in her location, it is more expensive for car insurance. So not sure if she'd be able to save any money, but I think it's worth looking into at a minimum. So definitely something that you could look at. $375 is the minimum payment on her loan. Then she has 2 cell phones for $102. I meant to look at this before I filmed the video, but I apologize. I totally forgot. I'm not sure if Mint Mobile works in Canada. I thought it did. I'm not 100% sure. That's personally what my husband and I use. We pay $30 a month for unlimited everything. So I would definitely look into a cheaper cell phone provider. I'm sure there's something equivalent in Canada. If not, you could use Mint Mobile potentially, but definitely look into something cheaper. Life insurance at $85, gym at $35, bank fees at $12. This is another thing. I'm not super familiar with the Canadian banking market, but I find it hard to believe that there's no banks that have like no fees for like just normal checking and stuff. So might be something worth checking into. If I'm wrong on that though, I apologize, but I think there's something or some place you could go potentially where you wouldn't have to pay fees. It would be worth, in my opinion, switching because that can really add up over your lifetime of paying those fees. And then she has Amazon Prime for $11. So total fixed expenses are $26.41, and that leaves her with $15.18 remaining. Going up to variable expenses. So she had listed these 3 variable expenses in her budget: $400 for food, $200 for dining out, $200 for gas. I added 2 other categories because if we just look at the budget review itself, we know that Diana doesn't have savings or investments. So clearly the money is being spent every single month. And I don't know where it's being spent, but I think that's a critical part of this, is to figure out where the money is going, because I think this is like maybe Diana's perfect budget, but this is likely in reality not what's actually happening. It's really important for us to be clear on where we're spending our money in the moment, because if you're more realistically spending $800 on food right now, I don't think it's realistic for you to cut that in half. Just being honest, just from my experience and from the experience of many other people that I've worked with and know personally, like cutting your budget in half is not going to work for you. So let's get the actuals from like the 3 to 6 months prior, list them out, make a budget, and figure out what is realistic for you. I'm not saying if you're spending $800 on food, I want you to keep spending $800 on food. I absolutely don't. But I think we need to be realistic. If you're currently spending $800 on food, I'm not going to expect you to spend $400. I'm going to see if maybe we could do $700 the next month. And if we can do $700, maybe we can do $650. Maybe we can do $600. Maybe we can do $550. You can keep working down, but I think being like jumping from $800 to $400, that's why a lot of people feel like budgets are super restrictive, because they are making them super restrictive. So to give you a little bit of room here, I added a $200 spending budget and a $100 miscellaneous budget. Now, again, it's going to be really important for you to do this on your own and figure out what you're actually spending so that we can get all of these more realistic. But for now, I did that. So total variable expenses are $1,100 for this. That leaves you with the remaining $418, and I would personally put that in an emergency fund. I think the first order of business for you is going to be creating an emergency fund of at least 1 month, working your way to 3 months, which would be roughly $10,000 for you. So it's going to be critically important that you get at least 1 month. Once you get 1 month of expenses saved, I would probably start prioritizing the debt after you get the 1 month. and then work on adding to your emergency fund as you're going. I think you could, put $100 towards the emergency fund once you're at the 1 month. Keep putting $100 a month, and then put the 318 on your personal loan, and vice versa. So I think it's important for you to start making a realistic budget. So the first thing I would do, Diana, is take a look at your bank statements from the last 3 months, figure out what you're actually spending money on, come up with a realistic budget that is a little bit aggressive, but still realistic for you. I want you to try to cut back on spending, but also in a way that's going to be sustainable for you. So that's up to you to decide what that means for you. A lot of times the hardest part is just starting. And I think you are on the right track in that regard. And I think that while things aren't great financially right now, you can get them there and you will get them there. Another thing that you could do is try to increase your income. You could try to work like a side job or pick up some extra hours at maybe your job or another job. Whatever you can do to make more money will drastically help you in becoming debt free and also working towards saving for retirement and savings. But with the minimum payments that you have right now, it's going to be tough. So I think trying to increase your income and also potentially looking at selling the car or reducing some of these other expenses is really going to help you a lot. So that's all I have for this budget review. Please leave comments down below with what you think about Diana's situation. And if you have any advice for her personally, please keep it very kind in the comments, because it is very vulnerable to come on the internet and share like your personal financial situation. So definitely keep it positive. And Diana, thank you so much for sharing, and definitely please keep me updated via email or Instagram message. I would love to keep supporting you and helping you in any way that I can. If you're interested in a budget review, click that link down in my bio and I would be happy to complete one for you as well. That's all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.